Hello my friends and welcome back to the garage. Today on the channel we have a very special subject, and that is miniatures. A lot of people might be familiar with miniatures because of Warhammer 40,000. In fact, the main reason why I got into Warhammer 40,000 was to get experience painting miniatures, and then I dove a little deeper into the lore. But as you can see here, I picked Black Templars as my starting army because Gundam Assemble was coming out, and I said I should probably learn how to actually paint miniatures for Gundam Assemble so I can cover Gundam Assemble once it comes out. And it's supposed to come out in 2026, or so I thought. Enter in the Gundam Card game. So this is a new venture from Bandai, and it is a playing card game based around Gundam. Now this box set is like a promotional beginner box set that's at these kickoff events, at least in my area, they're around kickoff events, and you have to sign up through the Bandai card game app and submit an application to go to one of these events. But luckily a store local to me released this as an early kind of day one edition package, if you will. So what's inside of this is a starter deck, as well as 3 Gundam Assemble miniatures. And as you can see, this is the heroic beginnings. So we have the original Gundam team in it. We have the RX-78-2, we have the Guntank, and we have the Guncannon, in probably its funniest pose ever. Now, I'm not sure how Gundam Assemble is going to play. Like I said, Assemble launches in 2026. This is just an early promotional offer to get people into this type of other hobbies that Bandai is putting out, like the card game and the minis. But as you can see down here, the minis are in play with the card game. So it's kind of, I thought it was mixed at first, but no, it's just kind of like a cool visual, like I'm gonna attack with this Gundam, and you can put your little miniature there on top of the card to kind of illustrate what you're doing as you play the card game. So there are 4 starter packs right now, and they cost $75 each. So they're pretty steep. They're honestly pretty expensive, but that's because it comes with the cards and the minis within. So we already looked at Heroic Beginnings. We also have Wings of Advance, which is based on Gundam Wing. We got the Tall Geese and 2 Leos, a ground Leo and I believe a flight type Leo, or no, it's a space type Leo because it's purple. So that's the second starter pack. The third starter pack is Zeon's Ruch, and it comes with 3 Zakus, 1 with a Heat Hawk, we have Char Zaku, and then 1 with a bazooka. And finally, we have the Siege starter pack, which comes with the Sword Strike Gundam, the Launcher Strike Gundam, and the Sky Grasper, but you could also combine all 3 if you wanted to make 1 Hail Strike Gundam. So in all 4 of these sets, $300, mind you, okay, you get a starter deck in each of these, as well as 3 miniatures in each of these. So 12 minis total in this whole set, and 4 starter decks. I'm not a card game player. I will collect the cards if I think the subject matter is cool enough. I also don't have any friends, so playing a card game isn't a super viable option to me. I was mostly interested in the minis, and that's really what I wanted to cover here. So the cards will be collected, and the minis really is the goal here. Occasionally on Instagram, as I'm doom scrolling my life away, I'll get these videos of people opening Pokemon cards and swiping through them. So that's how this is going to work. I'm going to open up this box, and we're gonna check out the contents inside, and we're going to cover the cards first. So I'm gonna open the card and I'll swipe through each of them so you can see what's included in each of these starter decks. If I have interesting enough commentary, I will speak up, but I will probably put music over it because they're 50 card decks. So this will just mostly be for your viewing pleasure and your curiosity, but I may have some comments here and there. So we'll cover the cards first, we'll cover the rest of the contents, because I think there's like ancillary pieces for this for the actual card game within these boxes. And then the Assemble miniatures we're going to talk about probably towards the end of this video, and then I'll probably do a whole separate video on painting them and whatever. We'll navigate that after I actually unbox this, because I'm completely blind to this. When I unbox a model kit on the channel, I kind of know what I'm getting into. With this, I'm not so sure, and I'm really kind of curious how these Assemble minis are going to stack up against Warhammer 40,000, because there's a lot of options once you get into Warhammer, like different loadouts for your Marines or whatever army you pick, that you can kind of adjust how you want your mini to look with its weaponry and whatnot. So without further ado, I'm going to put the camera up and we are going to unbox each of these, and then we'll unbox the cards, and then we'll talk about the miniatures a little bit. So this may be a little bit of a longer video, so there's going to be timestamps in the description below. So if you want to skip all this card stuff and go straight to the minis, you're more than welcome to do that. So first things first, this is the top of the box. It gives you the card game graphic up here at the top. And then down here we can see the minis, and we can see how they're displayed on cards down here on the bottom to give you a visual while you play the actual card game itself. These are official Gundam Assemble miniatures. So in theory, this is exactly how they should come when they release later in 2026, I believe is the actual release date for the Gundam Assemble miniatures. We can see up here Starter Pack 01A, Heroic Beginnings, English version. So what's included in the box? Everything you need to start playing the Gundam card game. Here we have the ready-to-play starter deck. It includes one alternate holographic card. I haven't bought a deck of cards since Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in like 2004, so you'll have to forgive my ignorance if I don't fully remember how packs used to come back in the day. Down here we can see this play button, and no matter how many times I press it, it doesn't start playing. And I think that's because they are advertising down here on this QR code that there's going to be a video tutorial, so you can do what a lot of Warhammer 40k players don't do, and you can actually paint your minis down here. On this third panel, we see Enter the Battlefield, and we see our painted minis down here, and we see in the background, you can see some Mr. Color aqueous paints in the back there. I don't typically use Mr. Color paints, so someone in the comments will have to correct me if these colors already exist, or if they're going to try and release paints specific for this Gundam Assemble line. I think that would be a pretty smart business move, in my opinion, if they sold pre-thinned Mr. Color paints already ready to go for this Assemble line. Because I know thinning is a hard concept for some people. It does take a bit to learn, so that might be an interesting business venture if they went that route, but you can see a bit of a close-up there. And then down here you can see a graphic of them using the miniatures to sort of illustrate how you're playing the actual card game on this card game mat. The side of the box just says Starter Deck, Heroic Beginnings, Gundam Card Game, X Gundam Assemble. So we've covered the whole box portion. Let's actually open this and see what is involved inside this box itself. Gonna get our handy dandy Mr. Milwaukee here. And this tape is from corner to corner, which I thought was very interesting. Nice. We're just gonna open this, and we're going to slide out this clamshell. So here we have a pamphlet, New Tabletop Gundam Game Debuts. It looks like there's a mat down here for actual play that's going to come out later for Gundam Assemble. I hope the game isn't fully based on this mat and that you can kind of play it similar to Warhammer, so you can use terrain, because I think just moving your Gundam around on a hexagram is going to be kind of boring. And then here are your instructions for building the miniatures, and it doesn't look like there's any alternate parts for poses or anything like that, so not as in-depth or as customizable as Warhammer, at least yet. The nice thing down here is that they do have a color guide down here, and my question has already been answered. Try painting with Akrison Gundam Assemble colors. Gundam Assemble Color is a product released by GSI Kratos Corporation. So it does sound like they are actually going to have Gundam Assemble specific colors for paint, which is nice. And then we have down here just how to play the game through the card game. And there's a companion app that actually teaches you how to play the Gundam card game if you were interested in that, that's probably an easier way to learn than this whole leaflet here. Here are the QR codes there, so you can pause the video and follow them if you wanted to. And then here we have another pamphlet, and it's just more information on how to play the game. And basically a layout for how to play the game, so resource area, whatever, you know, learn through the app. That's what I'm going to say on that. So here we have the Heroic Beginnings bonus pack, and here we have the starter deck. So the starter deck is completely freeballing here in this clamshell. Like I said, I'm going to put music over this portion, but if I have something to say, and I probably will have something to say about these nicer looking cards, then I'll have a commentary there, and then we'll open this blind pack and see what's in here. I will say the holographic of this Gundam card is really, really nice. It looks pretty good. We have a nice Gundam aerial here. Permet score 6, so I wonder if there's going to be different cards for different Permet scores. We have Gundam in mobile armor mode. And we got 2 of those. Oh, okay. We got a lot of those. A lot of dupes there. Got the Guncannon here. A lot of Guncannons there. And then some more Guntanks. Are we going to get 4? No, we're only going to get 3. All right, we got a gym here. Another gym. 3 gyms total. We have an aerial bit on form. We got 4 of those. Demi trainer. Three of those. The Zawart from Witch from Mercury. We have an Amuro. And we have another Amuro. So this appears to primarily be a Witch from Mercury and original Mobile Suit Gundam based deck. Not Hayato Kobayashi. He looks rough here. Kai Shiden, probably crying like usual, being a coward. We have Rembrandt here. We have White Base. Cool looking photo of White Base. This isn't artwork. This kind of looks like a 3D render. Almost like a 3D render of an old toy. That's cool. Reminds me of those old original CG Pokemon cards when they first came out. Here we have the school from Witch from Mercury as the base, so similar to White Base, but the Witch from Mercury portion, equivalent rather. Bunch of resource cards. I assume this is like power from the Pokemon card game. Boring, we don't need to go through those. EX base, EX resource. Okay. Here we have some unit tokens. We got Gundam, Guncannon, Guntank, and then a bunch of little things to punch out. Now we have this one card Heroic Beginnings holographic pack. So let's open this, see what's inside here. And I got a holographic Hayato Kobayashi with a fever. So this is what the back of them look like. That's a little underwhelming. It's kind of bent there, so that's a little disappointing there. It is definitely something. So here we have the whole spread of the starter pack out on my table here. I apologize if my studio lights are kind of washing some of it out, just bear with me. So out of these 50 cards, we got 17 different types of variety here. I have this Hayato holographic, but technically he belongs down here, and that's really only 17 variations of cards. Here we have this old Yu-Gi-Oh deck, this Egyptian God Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and every card in this is unique, except these last three, Armra, the Wicked Warden. So, by comparison, this deck is disappointing, to say the least, because it's so much duplicate. There's so much duplication here. I'm not sure if this is how card games usually roll out with all these duplicates, but I remember when Yu-Gi-Oh first came out in the States and you bought Yugi's pack, you got the Dark Magician and you got a bunch of unique stuff in it, similar to this deck here, this Egyptian God Slifer deck. So I think if I was a card game player, I'd be a little bit disappointed with the amount of duplication here. I mean, we got 4 holographics, well technically 5 if we include this kind of lame one here. It's just, it's a little underwhelming, the amount of duplications here. With that out of the way, I think what's interesting here, and we'll see once we open one of these other packs, that these blue cards I think belong to One Year War, and these white cards down here belong to Witch from Mercury. So once we open Gundam Wing Pack, it'll be interesting to see what color the borders are for that one. I would just wonder if it's going to follow suit and each alternate universe is going to have a different border around all their cards. So this is the One Year War and Witch from Mercury deck. I've already said my thoughts on it, so let's continue to the next numbered release, the Wings of Advance starter deck and mini pack. We will be looking at all the minis at the end of the video. I just want to do all the cards in one batch and then the minis in one batch. So we will continue onward and open up the next deck of cards. So now we're going to open the Wings of Advance Assemble set. And I'll be curious to see if the amount of duplicates changes. I assume it's not going to. I assume it's going to be similar amounts of duplicates within each deck. But this deck should be more wing focused, so let us take a look and see. We have our minis here with the tall geese on top and the 2 Leos on the bottom. So here we have a nice holographic Wing Gundam. That looks very nice. I'm sure there's a Wing Gundam underneath it. And there is. Same thing, same holographic. Looks pretty good. Here we have a holographic tall geese, and again, that looks really, really nice. And another one. We have 4 Wing Gundams in bird mode. And 4 heavy arms. We have 3 sand rocks. And 3 Maganacs. We have 4 Leos here. 3 Aries. And 3 Tragos. We have 4 Hero Yuis. And 4 Zex Marquis. 3 Troas. 3 Quattras, 2 Siege Ploys, whatever this is, maybe like a trap card or something. We have 3 St. Gabriel Institute with Hero Yui here, ripping up Relina's invitation to her party and telling her he's gonna, disappear her. And then we have 3 Corsica bases with the tall geese in its kind of demilitarized state. A whole bunch of resource cards, X base, X resource, 3 Leo unit tokens, and 3 tall geese unit tokens. And then the same type of punching cards there. Here we have our holographic, our random holo. So let's see what's in here. Oh, and we have a holographic Zix Marquise, which is pretty cool. So at least that's not a Zix Marquise with the flu. So here we have our spread of cards here. So down here in the contents, I thought I made a mistake, but down here in the contents, it's a 50 card deck with 10 resource cards. So realistically down here, of the 50 cards, we can exclude these because these are resource cards, right? These are counted separately. So again, these are the 50 cards and only 18 of these designs are unique. So again, there's a lot of duplicates. It must just be something with how the game is played because we got 4 heroes here and we got 2 wings, but we also have a lot of the Wing Gundam and Bird mode. There's 4 of these. So you must have to latch a pilot onto its Gundam. I'll have to check how the game is actually played, but again, there are a lot of duplicates here. I don't know if I need to temper my expectations. Some card players in the comments will have to let me know below if I'm being unreasonable here. But I just find the amount of duplicates a little, it's a little bit of a bummer, to be honest. You kind of want a little bit more variety here. But if it's a starter deck and this is how the game's supposed to be played by attaching a pilot to a Gundam, I guess I get it. I don't know. I guess I'll have to actually try and find somebody to play this game with and see how it actually is. So yeah, that's the wing set here. This is all Gundam wing stuff. There's no joint universe here, so it's not like Witch from Mercury and original Mobile Suit Gundam like the original Heroic Beginning starter pack is. This is all Gundam Wing. So my question from the previous deck seems to be answered here, because all of these are from Wing, but they are still separate colors. So all the antagonists here are in a dark blue, and this blue looks a little darker than the One Year War cards blue. And all the protagonists have a green barrier around their cards. So that just seems to be how they are laid out. So let's pack these cards up and look at the Zeon Ruch cards. So now we're going to open up starter pack number 3, the Zeon Ruch starter pack. So I'll be curious to see if this is all Zeon cards or if we got Neo Zeon cards in here as well. We do have a Sinanju on the cover. So I'm thinking, oh, there it is, Sinanju right there in front of my face. All right, cool. I kind of want to open this one first, you know? We're gonna open this one first just to see what we got. Give you the good old zoomy zoom. All right. Oh, I like that. That's definitely better than Sick Hayato. We got a nice holographic goof. It's not super holographic. It's kind of there, but you know, there's varying degrees of holographic. Again, we have this obnoxious crease here just from it being loose in the box. I guess this is probably what they did to randomize what card you get, but it would have been nice if this was in the actual deck itself. That way it doesn't get this crease. Here are our minis, 3 Zaku's in here. We'll put those to the side for now. And here is our deck. So again, it's probably more than likely going to be 18 duplicates within the deck. At the bottom, we have all the resource cards here. And then these unit tokens. 3 red char unit tokens, 3 green unit tokens, although I suppose these are probably part of the resource portion of the deck. We have a nice holographic Sinanju here. And the art on this is sick. And I think that's yeah, we got a Rosen Zulu down there in the bottom right behind Sananju. We got a Rizel Defender type BC or whatever in the upper right corner. This is sick. This looks awesome. Yeah, that art is really cool. So we got 2 hollow Sananjus. And we got 2 hollow Char Zaku 2s. That looks really cool with the blue thruster contrast against the red. That looks awesome. That looks really good back there. We got Angelo's Girazulu, and we have 4 of those. Here we have the regular Girazulu, and we have 4 of those as well. Here we have the Gaza D, the Sleeves Gaza D, an interesting pick. I kind of wish we had a Zaku 3 instead, but I get it, you can't have all the good units. You kind of have to have some of these cheaper units to throw in there. 3 Drasi from the sleeves. Now we're on to 1 Year War. So we have a similar green here to the wing green, but the Neo Zeon is in like a pinkish color. So this is like a watermelon deck. I'm going to start calling this the watermelon deck. We got 3 Zaku 1s. And we got 4 Zaku 2s from like the very opening. Remember when they first break into the colony and slide down the mountain? Very iconic pose there. One of the first things we see in the original Mobile Suit Gundam. We got a goof here for Rambaral. 3 of those. Here we have Full Frontal, one of the worst names in Gundam of all time, to be honest with you. 4 Full Frontals. And then here we have 4 Char Aznables, so I assume this is for the 4 Zakus. We have 4 Full Frontals, but we don't have 4 Full Frontal Mobile Suits cards here. Because the other sets have all been like 1-to-1. Like you'll get 4 Amuros and you'll get 4 Gundam Mobile Armor modes. Or you'll get 4 Hero Yuis and you'll get 4 Wing Gundam and Neo Bird mode. So here we have 4 Full Frontals, 2 Sananjus. I guess you could say the same for Char because we don't have 4 of Char Zaku. So that's interesting. Again, this will be something I have to read the actual instructions for. We got 3 Angelo Salpers, everyone's least favorite. Close combat cards with the Sananju kicking the unicorn. Some very nice, cool art there. The Blue Giant, Rambaral. We got 2 of these guys. Rambaral, what a great villain, great character from Gundam. Here we got the Ryulula. The sleeves capital ship, if you will. Finally, we have 3 Falmels, which is a named Musai. So again, same exact thing as before, where we have 17 unique cards here. I will say that the artwork on this Zeon pack is some of my favorite artwork out of all the 3 decks we've looked at so far. I don't know if the Seed one is going to change that. It probably won't. This Sananju artwork on this holographic Sananju looks really, really awesome. It looks cool. I really do like all the artwork on every single one of these cards. So if I continue to play this, if I get booster packs and stuff, I might try and stick with like a Zeon deck because this artwork is just awesome. It's really cool. But yeah, that's it for the Zeon cards. Let's move on to the Seed deck, the final Seed deck, and then we will get into the minis. All right, finally, last but not least, we have the Seed Strike Gundam Assemble pack. So the minis in here should just be Launcher Strike, Sword Strike, the Sky Grasper, and then you should be able to make an Ale Strike out of it. I'm curious. I'm curious if you can make a Perfect Strike or if you have to sort of kit bash that, if you will. So we do see that the Aegis is on the front of the box, which means the Aegis is going to be a card in here. So it's going to be a mix of protagonist and antagonist cards rather than just antagonist cards that we just looked at with the Zeon Ruch one. So it's kind of interesting that of these cards that we've already looked at, only one of them was specific to one set of army, because the wing was mixed and then Heroic Beginnings was mixed, and this is going to be mixed because we're going to have Zaft and Federation in here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to open this one first. We got our minis here. So let's take a look and see what's in here. Make sure the card is pulled back. And it's open. This really doesn't like to open by itself, probably because it's one card. And we got a holographic Strike Dagger. My least favorite grunt suit of all time, actually. Not a big fan of the Strike Dagger. But so be it, there it is. Zoom in on that puppy there. Holographic Strike Dagger. Although the holo effect on this card is much more noticeable over that goof that we saw with the previous one. But it looks good. It doesn't look bad. It's at least in a cool pose. It doesn't look like it's about to get absolutely obliterated by somebody, so that's a plus, I suppose. Here's all of our resource cards. Ailstrike Gundam, Launcher Strike, Sword Strike. That's interesting. So we got 2 Ailstrike cards here for resource cards or unit cards. We got 2 Launcher Strike cards. And we got 2 Sword Strike cards, and all these poses look really, really good. All the artwork looks really good on these cards. Here we have the regular Ailstrike Gundam, holographic. Looks nice, nice cool pose here, taking out the beam saber from the Ailstrike pack. And to no one's surprise, our second holographic is the exact same card. Looks really nice, nice artwork there on that. Here we have the Aegis Gundam. And a nice holographic with that green beam coming out of the beam rifle. That looks awesome, looks really good. Really nice artwork here on this. And we have a white barrier here, so interesting. We have a regular Strike Gundam with the knives. And we got 4 of those, and then we have the Mobius Zero Mulaflaga's mobile armor thing. And we got 4 of those. Here we have the regular Mobius. There's probably 3 of these, right? If it's the same as the previous decks, 3 Mobiuses. Okay. And then we're going to have 3 Strike Daggers here, which we technically have 4 because of the holographic. Here we have the Aegis in its crotch laser mode, aka mobile armor mode. So we should have 4 of these. Very awkward kind of transformation. We have the Jin here with some kind of really classic looking artwork there. Some classic looking line art. Doesn't look as modern as some of these others. So you can see for comparison. We got 3 of those. We have Miguel's Jin here. And then here we have a Kira Yamato pilot card, so there should be 4 of these. And he's got his more childish look to him rather than a more adult Seed Freedom or Destiny type of look. And we have 3 Athranzalas here. The artwork looks like it's from a dating sim. That artwork does not look good. We've got dating sim Athranzala here. All right, goofy. All right. This looks so bad. I don't know why this video is falling apart. All right. Okay. All right, we got striker packs. 3 striker pack cards. We got Hawk of Endymion, which is a Mulaflaga type of command card. I'm going to have to read and figure out what these are. The Magic Bullet of Dusk, a Miguel Iman card. I love how much attention Miguel gets. People love Miguel. I think he's in like 2 episodes. We got 3 Archangel base cards. And 3 Versailles' cards, which is the command ship of the Raoult Le Creuset team. All right, so here's all of our cards spread out. So this one has 19 variations, and that's because Ale Strike is broken to 2, Launcher Strike is 2, and Sword Strike is 2 for these unit token cards down here. The artwork here is decent, except for Dating Sim Athranzala. I laughed at that one. I don't know why, it just triggered my funny bone. Maybe I've been awake too long. But I really do like the artwork on both the Ale Strike and the Aegis Gundam. At the beginning of this video, I was a little kind of disappointed with the variety in the packs here, but the artwork as we've gone along has definitely made up for it. And I did message some people in between clips and said, hey, is this usually how starter packs are going? Because my only context is Yu-Gi-Oh! And by comparison, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a little more interesting. And they're like, yeah, starter packs are kind of just like, they're just to get you going. You get all the good stuff in booster packs. And the booster packs come out end of this month. I believe it's July 25th or something. So maybe we'll get some more interesting cards later down the road. But we have a nice, interesting blend of artwork here. Like we have some nice modern artwork up here with the Ale Strike Gundam, but down here with the Archangel, we have like a early 2000s 3D render, which that is really nostalgic for me because I bought Pokemon cards when I was like 6 when they first came to the States. So a lot of those older cards had some like the Ghastly had like a 3D render. So that's kind of interesting. It also harkens back to those early master grades like the GP02 master grade. I do like that. It's very nostalgic. So we got a nice blend of artwork here. It all looks pretty good except for Dating Sim Athranzala. And I don't know why they picked the Aegis with crotch laser mode, but so be it. There it is. But that's all the cards. That's all the cards from all the starter decks of this Gundam card game, all laid out. We've seen it. I've made my concerns with it. I've also kind of retracted that after I talked to some people. So please don't flame me in the comments for saying, oh, there's not enough variety, because it's, you know, it's my first time opening a starter deck that's not Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's, you know, I don't really know. I'm just trying to share what all these decks look like to all of you, so then you can see them and you can kind of make a decision kind of based on what you kind of like on this spread here of all these cards. For me personally, my favorite deck so far has been the Zeon deck. The artwork for the Zeon deck was awesome. How it plays, I don't know. I don't have friends, so I won't be able to find out, but I do have 4 starter decks here. If someone wanted to come over, we could have like a 4-way duel with these decks, I guess, and we could figure this game out. Yeah, but I'm not using the seed deck, I'll tell you that much. Someone else can do that. I can't get over that card, man. It looks awful. It just looks like it doesn't look awful. Like the artwork isn't awful on it. It's just thematically, it's awful. It's like it's just goofy. You know what I mean? It's just like it looks like he's trying to like take you out on a date and like hold the car door open for you. That's what it looks like he's trying to do, and that's why it tickles my funny bone so much, because it's just the composition of the artwork. And then like, I don't know, that kind of like soap opera fogginess around it is just, it does something to me, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's a goofy, it's definitely a goofy looking card. You can't tell me it's not. So yeah. There we go. So that's all the decks. Now let's take a look at these miniatures. So here we have our first stack of miniatures from the Heroics beginning box. And here we have the bases for them, which are on these snappable pegs. So that's probably future-proofing. So if they wanted to sell one mini similar to how Warhammer does it, because some Warhammer minis will be one package with one mini, one stand. But what I like is that these stands are all the same size. So that's kind of nice. It makes it nice. So you only need one version of these. You don't need two. So this is the XL. I bought this by accident. It only fits one of my bases in the Black Templar set that I have, but this should fit onto that, no problem. So it's kind of nice that these are just, you can just rip and tear them and put them on the side. So taking a look here at the runner or sprue, this is for the Gundam. Now what's nice here is that the head is separate from the V-fin, and I say that's nice because it gives you a nice easy way to paint the eyes, because if you thought painting the eyes on a high grade was going to be difficult, well, painting the eyes on this is going to be even worse. So we got the head here and the V-fin here. Now I'm curious if the Strike Gundam is going to be similar with the V-fin separated from the head, hopefully, so you can paint the eyes easier. We have the back of the Gundam here, and we have the shield here. And there's a surprising amount of panel lining on the actual shield itself. It's a decently detailed miniature. Down here we have a bulk of the mini, so we got one leg, one arm, and then a whole vacant back there. Down here we have the other arm, and it's on a big square peg there. And then here we have the front leg. So unfortunately, for these miniatures, at least on these ones in this card game Assemble type of promotion pack, if you will, I'm just going to call it a promotion pack for ease of talking. This doesn't have any customization for different configurations, different movement, anything like that. So for instance, if you wanted to use a beam saber with the Gundam, if you wanted to build it in a beam saber type of configuration, you can't do that. Unless you would have to fully scratch build it yourself. There's no parts here. For those unaware, this is what a Warhammer sprue looks like. And as you can see here, there's 10 miniatures on these sprues, but we have all sorts of options. Like we have a melta gun here, we have a heavy bolter here, we have a bolter pistol here, and then a light bolter pistol there. So there's all different sorts of configurations on these Warhammer minis, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to build. Now that does come into effect in the grand scheme of things when you actually play the tabletop game. Seeing as there's no rules and we don't know any implications of the tabletop Gundam game, it's going to be hard to tell if building this in a certain way is going to net us any different gains on the actual tabletop. But for now, it's a plain mini. You build it in this one pose and then you put it on the base. There's even a little peg down there in the foot to go right into the base. So this peg is kind of nice because you can take it off the base. You don't have to glue it right to the base right away. So you can do all your paint work on this, and then you can do all your base work on this, and then kind of combine the two. And if you didn't like this peg, you could also just very well nip it off. So I do really wish there was options here similar to Warhammer. That's a little disappointing, but I'm not going to count this out yet because this is, like I said, this is early. Like the whole rest of Gundam Assemble doesn't come out until 2026. So maybe this is just like the preview kind of options and there's going to be more later. That being said, you do have a little bit of options. Like you could nip this peg if you wanted to and then glue this arm in a different configuration, like kind of going upwards if you wanted to. It's hard to illustrate that without being in front of the camera, but yep, so this is the Gundam, and that's basically that. So let's move on to the Guntank. Here we have the Guntank, and it's made out of only 6 parts. So even Warhammer has quite a bit more parts to their minis than these Gundam Assemble ones. But the detail on this Guntank is really nice. There's a lot of panel line detailing here on the actual Guntank itself, and even on the back. So it's not like they skimped out here. There is a decent amount of detail here on display. The Guntank is in a very typical pose you would expect from the Guntank, where it's just kind of in a... And it looks like the seam is going to be decently kind of hidden here. This is snap fit. You could just fully snap fit this kit together, which is going to be kind of nice, because you could just go to a store, and let's say you find these Gundam Assembles on the shelf. You could just buy them and snip them right there and throw them on the game board and play. You don't have to glue it. I mean, you're going to be like the other Warhammer guys where you don't have anything painted, but yeah, you know, it's at least snappable out of the box, which is nice. That's kind of nice that they did that. And here we have the Guncannon miniature, and like I said at the beginning of this video, it's in its more kind of goofy pose with it laying down in a firing position from these rocks here. And it's all kind of piecemealed together. So you're going to want to take the arms, put them into the base, and then you put the arms onto the torso, put this on the back of the torso, and then you put the legs together, and then put them on the torso there, put the head on, and that's basically it. This is going to take minutes to assemble. It's going to take longer to paint, but it'll take minutes to assemble. But I'll give you a little bit of close-up. So that's the chest there. That's the legs. This is the base, which is kind of funny because it's like a base on a base, because you got this base here, and that's going to go on the actual base itself. So yeah, you got a base on a base there. And those are the cannons, some nice detailing there on the cannons. On the back side, we got some more detailing there on the cannons. Nothing on the base. A little bit there on the foot and on the underside of the foot. And then there at the back. You can see that nice detail there of the gun cannon on the front and also on the back. Some really nice little minute details there on the mechanism for the lifting of the cannon. And then here we have the treads with each tread separated and some nice detailing there on the hatches on the side of the treads. And here we'll do a quick flyby of the Gundam so we can see how the head has the eyes separated. Put the V-fin on. We see the back there with some decent detailing on the backpack. And on the bum. Got the shield there, nice panel line around the circumference. The primary portion of the body, lots of decent detailing there. It's pretty well detailed for a very small mini. Right arm, some more detailing. The Gundam's left arm, rather. Then here we have the Gundam's left leg with a panel line going down the whole circumference of the leg. Onto the back, a little more barren for details compared to its others in the box. Both legs are a little plain on the back. Beam rifle looks really, really good here. Really nice looking beam rifle. No lines for the sensor on the beam rifle, so you'll have to paint that or scribe it. And then we have the shield there with a lot of decent detailing on the interior of the shield. So that's that for the heroic beginnings. Like I said, I'm kind of hoping that we get more variations of poses in the future, or at least different types of configurations to build, especially with Jims and Zaku's, because it would be nice to customize your army. So like, let's say I wanted to do a G3 Gundam. Let's say I bought another one of these assembles and I wanted to do a G3 Gundam. Well, it's going to be in the same pose as the RX-78 too. So, you know, there is a lot of reason why people want varied different poses with their miniatures. So I hope they do that in the full release of Gundam Assemble. But let's move on to number 2, the Wings of Advance. So here we have Assemble number 2, Wings of Advance. And again, we have 3 bases. They're all the same, so I assume every base is going to be the same anyways. And here we have the tall geese. This whole runner here is the tall geese. And this looks awesome. This is kind of similar to Warhammer with the amount of pieces it's going to take to build this mini. Usually Warhammer, you have 8 or so pieces to put a mini together, sometimes like 10. It really depends on the complexity of the mini. But this one's a decent spread. There's 11 parts here. So that's pretty on par for its Warhammer contemporaries. So the tall geese here, we have the plume up there. So we have the plume up there, and we can see that the visor is included. It's also slight molding for the face vents. I doubt you're going to be able to see that unless I throw the macro lens on. Here we have the shield, some nice detailing there with the shield, and we also have a raised bird crest for the center there. So we have a panel line down the center there. I checked all the other pieces. This is definitely an intentional line there because the mold lines themselves aren't this thick. So that's kind of interesting. Got some decent detail there on the bottom of the foot. Tall Geese actually has a lot of really nice detail on this whole runner. Some really nice detail here for the Tall Geese. And I like how it takes this whole runner, which means that those other 2 Leos that are packaged in here are going to be pretty simple. Right. So yeah, okay, this is still snap fit. When I saw the no peg for the hand here, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Does this one require glue and the others don't? But no, this Dober gun up here connects to this big peg there. So yeah, it does look like it's still snap fit, but the arms here are both in line on the runner. Both look like they have some nice detail. These thrusters might take a little bit of time to paint, especially if you need to get into the recesses there in the actual verniers. Here we have the back of the Tall Geese with some really nice detailing there. It's got a lot of good details there. A lot of good hatches. We have the front of the Tall Geese, and we kind of has no face, similar to its demilitarized version. Some really nice detailing there on the venting. I hope you can see that. But all those vents are molded separately. That looks nice. We have the 2 backs of the verniers. Again, a lot of really nice details, especially up there in the vernier section. This is definitely going to be one of the more complex minis to paint. And then up here we have the Dober gun with a lot of greebling on the Dober gun. So far, the Tall Geese is the most impressive looking miniature. It's going to definitely take the longest to paint out of all of them. And there's a decent amount of detail on the back of the Tall Geese too. So this is looking pretty good. I'm liking the look of this Tall Geese here. This is going to take you a decent amount of time to paint and make it accurate. Here we have the ground type Leo, and the Leo machine gun looks really great here. Some really nice detail there on the Leo machine gun. You can also see the really faint mold line at the top there, so that's how I know that Tall Geese line on the leg wasn't mold line. The mold lines here are really faint. So cleaning these up with your hobby knife similar to Warhammer is going to be pretty easy to do. We have the front of the Leo with the crossed arm holding the machine gun. And there's some really nice detailing here on this Leo. Really nice detailing there. And then here we have the back of the Leo. So it was like I thought, that the Tall Geese was so complex that the other 2 Leos are a bit more scaled back and easier to build. And again, some nice panel line detailing there on the front of the leg. In the head. This is a nice looking sculpt on this Leo here, and it's an iconic pose where it's holding the machine gun, firing at will, and probably exploding, because that's what Leos like to do best. So here we have the space type Leo here. This should be in like a type of purplish color. And it's also got this big bazooka gun, so that looks awesome. That looks really cool here. And again, similar to that other Leo, we have some really, really nice panel line detailing here. This might even have more detailing than the high-grade Leo, which is crazy to think about considering its size. Here we have the back of the head with all those nice fins on the back of the head. Got the arm there with some nice detailing on that hand. The hand looks really good. And then the big bazooka there. Some really nice detailing on that bazooka. That looks awesome. Here's the front of the bazooka. Again, it looks pretty good. We've got the Leo's left hand holding onto the handle for the bazooka, so it takes 2 arms to fire that bazooka. And then there it looks like we have a connection in the bum, so it can be held on like the base riser, because there are base risers with all these bases. Some nice detail on the back there, especially on that thruster. And then here we have the front of the head, consistent with the other Leo that we already looked at. I do think the Wings of Advanced looks pretty good. There's a lot of great detail on the Leos and the Tallgeese here, and the Tallgeese has a lot of parts. Out of the minis so far, the Wings of Advance is probably going to be my favorite, but we will keep going. Maybe Zeon or Seed has something in store for me. So here we have the Zeon Rush Pack, and of course, 3 bases. So we have 3 runners here. We have the regular Zaku with the Heat Hawk, we got Char's Zaku, and then we got the Zaku with the bazooka. Looking at the front skirt of Char's Zaku, there's some really great detailing there on the skirt and even on the front of the leg. That looks really nice, and again, more detail than the actual high grade, so it looks like they're going for more kind of pseudo-realistic type of flavor with these minis. We have the front chest here and one of the arms for Char's Zaku. And here we have the hand, and again, some nice panel line detailing there on the hand. There's a lot of nice detail on this Zaku mini, for sure. Here we have the other front of the foot. The Zaku's right arm holding the gun up in the air at rest. The mono-eye there raised in the center. And there's no cap on the head, probably similar to the Gundam, so you can paint the mono-eye and then put the top of the head there. What's nice about this is, unlike Warhammer, you can put this in, paint everything, take it off, paint that separately, so you can do your whole primed base coat, then sort of disassemble it a little bit, and then paint your eye and then put it back together. So that's really nice. And then here we have the standard Zaku machine gun, which looks pretty good. On the flip side, we have some nice detailing there on the backpack of the Zaku and of the power cables that go around the body of the Zaku. The back end of the Zaku looks pretty nice as well. No complaints here, and it's honestly still pretty impressive that they have all this little detail put onto this. We have the arm there, the back of the machine gun, the inner arm here, which has a lot of nice detailing on the inside of the shield there. That looks good. And then the back of the leg. So Char's Zaku too looks really nice here, and it's in a nice kind of dynamic pose. I like the look of it. I'm just hoping in the future we get a little bit more customization out of this. I think that would be very nice and would really edge it against its competitors in Warhammer and other tabletop mini build and paint type of games. Here we have the Zaku 2 in the rushing position with the Heat Hawk, and it's in this nice type of moving forward pose. And again, the cap is separate from the head, so you can paint the mono-eye separately. There's the other leg, and the panel lining is consistent from Zaku to Zaku, which is really nice. Here is the arm, and that Heat Hawk getting that gradient for the actual Heat Hawk is going to be interesting. That's going to be a new technique that I'm going to have to work on. And then here we have the front torso. Some nice panel line detailing throughout the whole runner. On the back side, we get a really nice look at the interior detailing of that shield, and we see all that truss framing there. That looks good. And we also have the interior of the arm, and this whole sculpt looks awesome. Here we have the back and the power tubes, and that looks good as well. And then the whole rear also looks really good. So, I know I'm not much of a card game player. This is primarily what I bought these sets for. And I'm really excited about these. These look awesome. These look like they're going to take me a decent amount of time to paint, and that's what I want. When I buy minis, when I buy something that I know I'm going to have to paint and it's going to take a lot of time to paint, that's what I want. I want something that I'm going to spend my money on and it's going to take me a decent amount of time so I can get my money's worth out of it. After all, we're buying these to be entertained, right? So if I were to build this and it takes me 2 seconds to build, it's not really worth my time, right? So I'm thinking that I'm going to get a lot of bang for my buck just out of these minis. Probably not enough to spend $300 on all of these sets, but I did that for you guys, so you can see what's in these boxes and make an informed decision. Our last Zaku here is the one with the bazooka, and unfortunately it's in a kneeling pose without the bazooka even in a firing position. So we can see how this peg is going downwards, and this peg here is almost flush. So the bazooka is basically being aimed at the ground, and I don't think I like that. I'm going to try to make this bazooka more at the ready, about to be fired. So I'm going to try and customize this to get me that effect. Because I want to challenge myself. In all honesty, it's just to challenge myself and see how far I can take these minis, right? So yeah. But this Zaku is the same. It's consistent with the others. All the styling is exactly the same. So I'm not going to spend much time looking at this Zaku because we have 2 other minis to look at. And we've already kind of looked at this already. This is just in a crouching pose. And finally, we have the Seed one, which is just the Ale Strike Gundam with the Launcher Strike and the Sword Strike. So this is the Sky Grasper runner, and what's interesting about this is to build it per the box, you would take the Ale Striker pack, you would put it on the back of the Sky Grasper, and then you would take the lower Ale Thrusters and put it onto the actual Ale Striker pack. These, the beam rifle hand, the raised hand, and the shield are all separate bits. So this is the first runner of the Gundam Assemble that has bits, leftover bits for customization and things such as that. Similar to the other Gundam Assemble miniatures, there's a lot of nice detailing here, but unfortunately this Sky Grasper is mired with these holes. I hope that this is for like connecting points of other pieces, but I don't really know. This kind of looks ugly. This kind of looks bad. I would fill this in with putty, to be honest, because you're already going to paint this anyways. So if something's not the connector to connect it to the base, I would fill it in because these holes are pretty big. Yeah, so that's that. But the rest, like the actual parts for the Ale Striker itself, we've got some nice detailing throughout with the panels. This beam rifle looks awesome in this really tiny scale. And those ventings there on the lower Ale Strike thrusters, those look good as well. Especially the backside of the shield with that truss framing. The front of the shield's got a lot of nice panel line detailing, as does the arm. And I will give credit to the top of the Sky Grasper. The top of the Sky Grasper looks pretty good, but the bottom side is questionable. And then here we have the top side of the Ale Striker pack, which looks pretty decent, as does the arm. So that's pretty interesting there for the Sky Grasper. I'm curious if you can make a perfect strike out of this, because technically all the parts are here for a perfect strike. I might challenge myself to make a perfect strike out of this. So here we have the Sword Striker, and you can see it's a cross-body type of pose. So usually what I do with my Warhammer minis, if it's a cross-body pose, I will paint the body first, and then I'll paint the arms at the same time, but I'll keep them separated until everything's painted and kind of everything looks good, and then I will then glue the crossed arms on. But luckily, because this is snap fit, I may not have to do that this time with this sword strike. So yeah, we got that there, but mixing these colors to get that really light blue for the sword, that might be a little challenging for some people. Same with down here, but at least you're going to need a decent amount of it for all these sword striker parts. Decent pauldron there. We got the left leg there. We got that gap there on the front. That's just for the armor, but it almost looks like a connecting peg on the front there. That's a little interesting that that's like that. We have the head and the V-fin, and similar to the other Gundam. And similar to the other Gundam, I assume that's so you can paint the black in the eyes. That's really smart because painting those eyes would be a nightmare if they didn't do that. If you had to contend with the head being in the way. Here we have the other part of the body. So it's got a very nice, wide, kicked out stance. And then here we have the body there. So it must use the launcher strike for the actual ale strike pose. Meaning if you were to build the ale strike, you're going to have some leftover bits here. Actually, no, you should be able to build the sword strike. The launcher strike, you're just not going to, you're going to have leftover launcher stuff. So you're either going to have leftover ale strike Gundam pieces, or you're going to have leftover launcher strike pieces. So womp womp. I guess build whatever you would like to build first. So looking at the launcher strike, we're going to take a look at the head first, and it's similar to all the other ones, separated so you can paint the eyes. It's a nice touch. Got this shoulder pauldron here for that little Gatling gun on the shoulder. I have this leg here. I believe that's the right leg. Yeah, and this is more of a flying pose, so that'll be good. So this is the Gatling one, so this one must be the rocket one. But it's another two-armed type of pose with the actual launcher. Here we have a leg kicked out, and we can see a small tiny piece of detail in there where that other leg on the sword striker kind of looks like a connection peg. So yeah, there's that. And there's some really nice complex panel lining throughout this whole little strike Gundam. It looks really nice. This one's going to take a long time to paint as well, just because there's so many different colors going on the strike Gundam itself. And this launcher pack looks really good. A lot of detail on that launcher there. On the flip side, we have even more detailing throughout the whole launcher itself, which looks really, really good. And then we have the back there. And the back of the leg with this pretty ugly mold there for the like kicking out flying type of pose. That's kind of a shame, especially when you consider that this peg is there. So why wouldn't they just put a hole in the bum, right? Rather than this whole thing. I don't like that at all. That I don't like. Because you can't really do any base customization, right? Like it's obviously in the sky, so what are you gonna do? Paint this light blue, and then paint this light blue and put like a cotton ball underneath it so you think it's on a cloud or something, or flying over a cloud. I don't know. I kinda wish they just instructed you to use this peg stand up in the bum rather than this connection part there. I think that's kind of lame, to be honest. But it is what it is. Yeah, so that is the Launcher Strike Gundam. Unlike the others, this is the only one that has like extra bits, so you could put it in a different type of pose. And to be really completely honest with you, I think Bandai's going to need to lean into that. So I'm going to put the camera back down towards my face, and we're going to have a discussion for my closing thoughts on both the minis as well as the cards. So what did I think of these Gundam Card Game and Assemble starter packs? Well, I think United States fans got a little hosed. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of hobby shops are increasing the price on this by almost half, if not more than half. I paid $75 each for this, and I saw that as a median price online. I saw a lot of shops selling these for $70 to $80. I did also see shops selling this for $100, the same set, $100. The cheapest I saw this from a United States store was $40 and didn't include shipping. The MSRP on these sets is $35 with yen converted to US dollars. So of course hobby shops are going to hobby shop and they're going to increase the price. So all the comparisons I made with Yu-Gi-Oh being $20 for a starter pack and Warhammer being $60 for 10 miniatures, it doesn't really work because the MSRP is overtly bloated here in the United States. So buyer beware. Use this video as a content guide to determine what you're actually going to like and what you want to get for your first starter pack. If you really, really want the Zeon one and you're willing to spend that $75 that your local hobby store has it for, then by all means go for it. I'm not going to tell you how to spend or how not to spend your money, but there is the possibility of finding these cheaper. You may just have to wait. I saw a listing online for $20 from Japan with $22 delivery, which is technically the cheapest that I saw these packs for, period, across all my searches on the internet. That's what I'm going to say about the price and comparisons between this card game and other card games. If we look at just the MSRP, I think $35 is a very fair price for this. So if you think the $75 that I spent on this is overpriced, that's fine and that's totally fair. Just try and shop around and you can probably find it for cheaper elsewhere. But to get this content out to you guys as soon as possible, basically on day of release, I don't mind spending that price so you can go into this with an informed brain and make your informed decision on what you want for these starter packs. Now for the card game, I'm a little disappointed with the amount of duplicates I got. Like I said, my only context before is this Yu-Gi-Oh deck here, and this has a decent amount of variety in it versus the Gundam card game, which doesn't have a lot of variety in it. So I think what they need to do is they need to really lean into their franchise with these booster packs and really expand and show a lot of mobile suits throughout these booster packs. I think they need to have a lot of variety. I think if they had a very expansive selection of cards within the booster packs, I think that would be very helpful, because one of the best things about the Gundam franchise is how long it's been established and how many side stories there are throughout the mangas and video games and things such as that. Like SD Gundam G Generation Genesis and Cross Rays, there's so many mobile suits that you'll find out about just by playing the game that you probably haven't heard about before because they're from some obscure manga that you've never read. There's 45 years of lore here to go through, so there's definitely a lot of options. So I think variety is the spice of life, and they really should lean into that with the booster packs. So I'll probably pick up a couple booster packs, and we'll probably do a similar video where I put the camera up and we blindly open the packs. And we'll take a look-see and see if there's any improvement. And we'll buy a handful of booster packs because I want to give them a fair shake. But if I get 5 sick Hayato Kobayashis in one pack, I'll probably give up, to be honest. As for the miniatures, I think the miniatures are going to be lackluster to some people. And I know I'm a little lackluster on them. I think it's cool that we have Gundam miniatures. I think Bandai really needs to lean into it heavily. And Bandai already has a lot of stuff that could easily support these miniatures. Like they could be like, hey, if you want terrain, we have this action-based set that comes with a destroyed street and some destroyed buildings. I think they should really lean into all their ancillary accessories that they already have and that are already printed, and you can easily pick them up at a lot of hobby stores. I think they should lean into that so you can get some terrain for the game. Hopefully the game allows terrain. That's another thing that's kind of scary to me, if you will, is that the mat looks like it's just a hexagonal mat. So I'm hoping you're able to move your character around kind of freely and that you can use terrain to have more immersion in your actual gameplay. Because if you're just rolling out a mat to play kind of 4D chess, I don't think that's as interesting. And I don't think that's what people like. People like collecting these miniatures. They like building their own customized miniatures. They like building an army. So I think you're going to run into the problem of an oversaturated market because we got Star Wars Legion, we got 40K, we have like 3 different versions of Warhammer out there, right? And there's a new Halo tabletop out there. I think you're entering a very saturated market. So what Bandai needs to do is they need to break into this market and do something that's going to have the draw for these players from other tabletop games to want to join in on Gundam Assemble. And I think the same goes for the card game as well. There needs to be a massive draw for these fans of Magic, these fans of Warhammer to say, okay, I've had my fun with this, let's try this one for a little bit, right? And I think Bandai is gonna flounder a little bit if they don't add some form of customization to these minis. As even right now, out of these 12 miniatures, we only have one that's somewhat customizable, and that's the Launcher Strike turning into the Ale Strike, and that gets rid of 2 minis right there. So really, you can only build 2 minis out of that set rather than the 3 that's advertised. What are the gameplay implications of that? I don't know. We don't know. There's no rules for it yet. They say the rules are coming at a later date in these leaflets. So I guess time will tell with that. And I'm really giving them the benefit of the doubt here. I'm hoping that these miniatures that we got are just like an early preview of these miniatures, and that the miniatures we're going to see next year when Gundam Assemble fully launches is going to be a little bit more expansive. I think people want to build armies. I think they want to collect vast armies of Zakus and Jims. They want to have their own custom kind of original character Gundams. Like, we want to be able to have our Gundam Unit 3, our Gundam Unit 2, the Gundam Unit 1, all the way up to 7. If you wanted to make your own custom Gundam Unit 8, I think people really want that too. And that's part of the fun and part of the draw for Warhammer, and why it's such a huge franchise right now, why it has such a staying power, is because this is your army that you are building. You are building this army to go attack these heretics, right? Or the Imperium. You're building your own lore around your army. It really kind of just sucks you in to this tabletop game, right? And that's part of the big draw to Warhammer. And I think if Gundam's just like, here's this Gundam in this one shooting pose and that's all you're gonna get, I think people are gonna get disenfranchised with it pretty quickly. And they'll just stick to Gunpla, and they're gonna probably forget about this. I hope I'm wrong. I really sincerely hope I'm wrong, because I want Bandai to succeed with both these business ventures, but I think they really need to put in the work because these are very, very saturated markets, right? The more money that Bandai makes from these extended business ventures, the more money is going to go back into the Gundam franchise, and the more expansion we're going to see of the Gundam franchise. That's going to mean more shows, more movies, more manga, more model kits, and just more fun to be had from the Gundam franchise as a whole. So I'm being critical of this card game in Gundam Assemble Pack, not because I'm being a contrarian or because I'm trying to poo-poo Bandai, but because I want them to succeed. So I want them to really just put in the work and say, we're here. We're a long-established 45-year-old franchise. We have a ton of lore. We have a ton of really cool designs that you can appreciate and love. And I want them to suck in new fans for the franchise. And I think both the card game and the miniatures are a nice way to do that. But they can't be putting their toe in the water. And I understand that from a business perspective, you don't want to cannonball right into the water, because if you spend all this time and money developing all this stuff and it flounders, then it's a wasted investment, really. And I'm not saying that this is low effort, but I'm saying they need to take it a step further. I honestly think they just need to take both these a step further, and I'm hoping that the booster packs prove to me that they're going to take it a step further. And I'm hoping when the full line of Gundam Assemble launches that they're going to take it a step further. So I'm going to remain tepid on the sidelines, rooting for Bandai, hoping that when these booster packs come out and that when the full Assemble line of miniatures comes out, that Bandai really knocks it out of the park. This is all new, so I'm sure they're just figuring all this stuff out right now. And it's too early to make a final judgment call. It's too early for me to say, oh, these miniatures are junk or this card game is junk. We need a little bit more time before we can make that judgment call. So I'm going to be watching both of these. I'll probably do a little bit of reviews on the channel here and there based on when they come out, both with the cards and with the miniatures. I'm definitely more interested in the miniatures. I think that's a little more in tune and in line with what Bandai does. I definitely think that Bandai has the capability and the franchise to break into both these markets. I just think Bandai really has to play their cards right, because this is a big market that they're trying to break into on both fronts, on both cards and tabletop games. There's a lot of saturation there. So I think they'll have success with this if they play their cards right. So hopefully it's better than their video game branch, where they'll put a video game out for a year and go, okay, you guys have had your fun, we're going to shut the servers down, and that's it, it's dead. They've done that with numerous Gundam mobile games. They even did that with Gundam Evolve, which was a full release console game. Gundam Battle Operation 2 is still going strong, but that's probably because it's making them enough money to continue that development. So I'm really hoping that they support this and that they don't just kind of put it out there, don't get the response they want, and then immediately cancel it. And that's kind of where my skepticism comes from, is just how they've handled some of their games in the past, specifically Gundam Evolve, because that was a full release console title, right? A mobile game, you can say whatever you want about that, but for a full release console title to come out and then it just dies with a whimper, that's disappointing, and that makes me skeptical and tepid about spending a lot of time and money to invest in these miniatures in this card game. So that's really all I have to say. I hope that they treat these games better than they treat their video game division, and that there's some more staying power with both the cards and the miniatures. There's something here, there's definitely something here in both these aspects. They just need to play their cards right. And again, I say this out of a place of love and care for the franchise. I don't say this as a contrarian or someone trying to be overtly negative about the whole experience. And that's really all I have to say about this Gundam card game and Gundam Assemble starter pack. I hope you found this video enjoyable and informative, and that it's helped you make an informed decision. Until the next time, stay safe, have fun, and happy building.